can't be mortal.
Welcome back, mere mortalized. You've got some musings from your two favorite mere mortals right here. You got Juan
And Karen, yo.
3rd of August. And look, mere mortalized, today we're going to be talking on a concept that I don't want to get very detailed and definitive about because, again, some of the learnings I've been doing over the past few weeks is the more that I try to over-prepare or get into like really specific details, I don't necessarily enjoy or do as well, as it is more of a conversation. So what we try to do with musings is deep conversations with a lighthearted touch. So it is going to be more of a deep conversation, but again, with a lighthearted touch. So we're talking the philosophies, we're talking the ideas with a light touch, not anything too deep or dastardly that's hard to understand. So
Sure.
the topic for today is Moloch.
Yep.
Now, you might be wondering, what the hell is Moloch? Well, I'll tell you what it's not. It is not a harmless spiny lizard of grotesque appearance, which feeds chiefly on ants found in arid inland Australia. I did not know that it was a spiny lizard as well that lived in Australia. So we're not talking about that. And the reason I actually came across this, and I hadn't heard of it before, was over the past month, one of the things I just, by randomness, I've started doing is doing like a 1-minute training of just interesting, cool, different ideas that I just hopefully haven't heard before, that I just like get AI to generate, and I'll just read through them and I'll be like, oh yeah, cool, interesting. And the Moloch, however you want to call it, sometimes if I read it, there's Moloch theory, there's Moloch problem. And as I read it, I was like, oh, that would be cool to talk about. I'll define it quickly and then we can just get into it.
Yeah, please do.
I'll call it as what Google's saying here, a Moloch trap. Simple terms, it's a zero-sum game. Really, zero-sum game. It explains a situation where participants compete for object or outcome X, but make something else worse in the process. So everyone competes for X, but in doing so, everyone ends up actually being worse off in the process. So that's kind of the Moloch problem. You know, you go after something and you think that you're doing the right thing, and lo and behold, ends up doing worse for the entire civilization, humanity, whoever you're focusing.
Do you want to give us a couple of examples?
Yeah. So a couple of examples. So here's a few, at least that pertain to me. And I was trying to find ones that weren't like the common tropes, I guess, that exist around this. So the real examples that I was putting, or at least finding for myself, kids' schedules. So actually overbooking their kids, which I have had conversations with people around, and I've fought to not do this, and gets into the conversation about Moloch problems. Being like, people will overbook their kids for things to do, not so much because they want to, but because they're scared the kid will fall behind.
So that would be more along the lines of, I guess you're trying to make the kid healthier, more social overall, but you're declining their health because you're doing too much.
Yeah, it'd be more like the example here would be parent A says with their kid, "I am my kid's doing A, B, and C." And then the other parent goes or thinks, oh, damn, like mine must be falling behind. I need to do A, B, C, and D. And like, they've got to be doing this and the tutor for that. And so in the localized way, you do think, well, I am trying to give the best head start or the most advancement for your kid to do certain things or activities. But in the end, in the outcome, you probably, or you might be actually placing just an unwantedness that they want. Like they're just like, oh, I just want to spend more time with like a parent, let's just say, as opposed to just doing all these activities for the activity's sake. It becomes more what happens off is that you just get this general trend towards, people just doing activities for the sake of the activity, not for the outcome that is generated from the original activities that you wanted to do in the first place. So that was an example specifically for me. Another one was just like social media and statuses. So that's another example from a Moloch problem. So this is just chasing likes, trends, things like that, as opposed to doing it for our own reasons. It's we want to avoid looking like we're not participating in the race to get the more likes and the more posts. Now, this doesn't happen for everyone. This is probably one that I like is a general example given around social media and status that I see maybe it's an easier Moloch problem to jump out of it. That the reason, as I'm talking through this, that I like the word at the very least of Moloch, and I can't bother finding there is a Hebrew linkages of it. Okay, cool. I like that. Just like the naming of it is cool. I like the naming aspect because when you name something, or when you like personalize it, when you give it like an identity, basically, it helps you to assign it something and step away from it, as opposed to it being just like what is this? What's going on here? Why am I finding these issues? Anthropomizing, that's what it is.
I think that's more related to adding things to animals, human qualities to animals. So
Yeah, okay.
I don't know if there's
What's
a word.
it called? Like human qualities to like ideas,
I'm
something
not
like
sure.
that. Yeah. So, anyways, that's what that is. The health and wellness aspect of it as well. So this is when you become competitive, even to like kindness. So this is again, we're all sort of, you get into a race, which maybe this is what I've started to see, race into like the healthiest, the happiest, the fittest. And again, in a localized way, this can all be good. But then when you start competing and challenging and seeing people do, well, this person did a marathon, this person's doing an ultra marathon, this person's doing this, and this. And again, then you're all chasing this aspect. You then trend towards this, well, everyone's going to explode because you don't have enough time. And maybe then you're giving up all this energy that you should be spending or could be spending with family and other aspects, either because you believe that that's what you should be pursuing if you really like health and fitness. And I can see myself for sure in that being a Moloch problem that I've been drawn into, or the problem, whatever you want to call it, theory, that it's like, okay, that's another one that I would say I've failed at sometimes in trying to step away from, let's just say.
Okay, this is kind of different from what I had taken as what the Moloch problem is, in that what you're describing there is more people doing something and it's then having a very obvious rebound effect onto themselves. And it seems the problem is more that they're not realizing it's happening. So for like the kids thing, like if you're overbooking them, the rational thing would be, oh, okay, I'm overbooking, and if I'm overbooking them, it's having this deleterious effect on other parts of their lives, or on my life, for example, how I'm then starting to treat them. And the fix for that is very easy in that you stop overbooking them. Whereas the Moloch problems that I had heard of were more along the lines of prisoner's dilemma, game theory, things like this, which are, you can see the problem, you can see what you're doing, you can see that rationally I have to do this, and you can see, oh, it's going to have a bad effect on me, but I have to rationally do this. That was my kind of understanding of what a Moloch problem is. And so to highlight the differences between this, the classic is the prisoner's dilemma. Two prisoners, one can rat out the other one and get a reduced sentence. But if they both agree to not rat out each other, then they both they get the very lightest sentence. So like, let's say 0 years. They don't squeal on each other. If one of them, they get 1 year if they don't squeal on each other each. If one squeals on the other one while the other doesn't squeal, the one who is squealing gets 0 years and the other one gets punished really heavily, let's say 10 years in jail. And then if they both squeal on each other and vice versa, and if they both squeal on each other, then they both get 7 years in jail. So for example, if you then tally it up and say, like, what's the minimal amount of time in jail is the best outcome for them as a whole, it's for both of them to not squeal. They get 2 years total. If one of them rats out and the other one, it's a 0 years and 10 years, so 10 years total. And if they both squeal, then it's 14 years total because it's 7 plus 7, and that's the worst outcome.
Yep.
Rationally, they look at that and they go, okay, it would be best if we both didn't agree. And this is where there's variations, because this one has like a trust component to it. So it's like, I need to trust the other person and not squeal. And if there's no communication between them, rationally the thing to do is go,
don't squeal.
Rationally the thing is to squeal and say like, hey, this other person did this, and the other person's going to do the same thing. And so they get trapped in this game where they're both screwing each other over and they can't get out of it, which is this kind of ideal that you make the most rational decision, but it's the worst decision for yourself, but you can't help but make it. That was kind of what I took from this.
Yeah. I guess, and I extrapolated, so I might have extrapolated too hard to some of the more personal views. But yeah, I guess it's a zero-sum game, right? Where when you're competing for something, like when you're competing for an outcome, and then make something else worse in the process. So it's basically, you're competing for something, but something else gets worse. I guess I took it in that lens. And so like for the kids one, and it was very real for those folks who've got kids. You'll understand this. If you've got the ability to send them to things, is that the problem there is that you think that sending them to more activities because then more people are sending the kids to more activities is a good thing. Yep. And then in the end, it becomes a bit of an effect. That's a trap. That's the Moloch trap where you go, well, if my kid's doing 3 activities, but everyone else's kids is doing 4 activities, my kid needs to do 4 activities. And the choice of that is kind of an assimilation or a race with everyone else that's doing it, but it's for the sake of activities, not for the sake of the outcomes that is being achieved from it. So it's the trap because then it's, I guess, a simple focus. I think this is the underlying piece with what I was thinking from a Moloch trap, or at least my thoughts of it. It was just like, where is it a case where you just start focusing elsewhere because you either join in the race or you're participating in the way that it's supposed to be participated, and you don't lose sight of what the real outcome is that you're doing, because then you start getting some other random type of outcome that you think is the right thing to be getting, but in the end is not what you actually wanted to begin with.
Yeah. So, I'll jump in because I did a bit of research on like what is a Moloch problem as well. Where did this come from? Why is this a term? Because where did you first hear of it as well?
I just thought it was like a 1 minute little like learning piece that I do on a daily basis for things, and it was like the Moloch problem. And I was like, oh, cool.
But where did you hear about it to begin with?
There.
But where's there? Like what resource? What?
Oh, ChatGPT AI 1 minute view,
right,
and it did link to that original one that you sent through on the Discord channel as well.
Yeah. So that's where the term comes from, the Moloch problem. Moloch is an ancient god in some sort of
can't remember what
religion. I can't remember, but the term Moloch problem, he was being used, and this was like a kind of creative / destructive god. He was immortalized, I guess, in a poem by Allen Ginsberg. So this is like the Beat era. So think of Jack Kerouac on The Road. Did a book review on that, which is this kind of anti-establishment, hippie, anarchic type views in the United States, and I think I'm going to say the 1960s, 50s period after the wars, things like this. And it was then a blog, which was it was called the Slate Star Codex in 2014. Might have had a different name because it was from Scott Alexander, and he changed the name of his blog. So it was linked to other concepts I'd heard about for a while, and I listed some of these in there, which is tragedy of the commons, prisoner's dilemma, coordination failure, race to the bottom, multipolar traps. All of these sorts of things are kind of in that same genre. And I tried reading the blog. It's fucking difficult, man. And it's difficult because it's one of those, I guess it's a poem / fun idea / someone musing on the world, and in a kind of critique type way. It's like a critique without offering much solutions. There's people who are really good in this world are bashing the shit out of the current system, but when they come to offering solutions are not so great at it. It's along those lines, and it's very it's long. It's long, and I found, to be honest, rather intellectual, holier than thou sort of deal. And he was largely talking about what I thought was the Moloch problem. So this is AI safety, politics, climate change, capitalism critiques, which, to be honest, I find generally to be rather unproductive conversations, and I can talk about that in a little bit, perhaps. But these ones were really saying environmental Moloch problem would be, we're all trying to produce the best that we can, or, most efficiencies, and that leads to dumping of toxic waste in the water, which then has detrimental environmental effects. Think of books like The Silent Spring. I've got to cover that at some point in the future, which is what started, I guess, almost like the environmental movement and things like this. So for these ones, it really was coming from this not individual personalized things like you're talking about, but the big, grander, large scale humans are going to kill each other over time because we're all too selfish sort of deal.
Yeah.
It had this element of humans are bad, and it's not that like an individual might be good, but humans are bad overall. That was the kind of feeling behind the surface of
what they were trying to get to.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, for sure. I think the idea, the problem of Moloch, and again, this is just the concept of, it's got a name, which I thought, that's kind of cool. But that whole idea of, and it was AI of those that I was like, oh yeah, AI can clearly see. And again, this is what you define as bad and good, obviously differs, and so it changes that narrative of it. But if you take AI usage, for instance, we are in a clear race to the bottom type scenario where everyone's spending as much money as possible. I'm talking across like governments and everything else. That there's companies, governments buying and spending ridiculous amounts of money to get ridiculous amounts of processing power and more chips and more this. And if you don't do it, like you can't stop, because then China's going to do it or another place is going to do it. So you have to just go as hard as possible, and then you can get into a conversation. Well, what about security, or what if you just launch into AGI, general intelligence, or super intelligence, and something crazy happens and you break something, and it's like, yes, but if you don't do it, the other person's going to do it, so you might as well just continue. And so that race to the bottom, or race to succeed, whatever it is in this intended purpose there, that's the Moloch problem on maybe AI security, in that there's going to be unintended consequences to that, and nobody wants to stop to pause.
And you're saying that's in the level of what, countries or of companies? That's their decisions to invest.
I think you can. So the concept of AI, let's just say AI, that's the one that I was like, that was an example I was going to bring up, where you could use it at the level of like humanity. So like globally, you're talking like at the country level, like USA versus China, trying to develop as much as possible. There's that. There's company. So there's company versus company trying to develop or use the technology. And it's a race to how fast can you bring this in so you don't get obliterated by whatever, all the way down to the individual, where you can have that. And this is one of the things I started to see in my own tooling that I do in my day-to-day life. I've, for years now, been trying to use more AI in a lot of things. Mm-hmm. AI in the sense of summarize this, analyze that, improve this, workflow processes, all of those things. And I can see that people could this is the dicey thing. You could get into a Moloch problem if you don't keep a really clear line of sight, and I'm talking individual here, line of sight into what the hell it is that you're trying to do. So the example I was going to give was for annual goals, in that now we have, month, day to day goes by, you have more improved AI tools, and I've played around with a variety of them. And I thought in this particular year coming around, hey, I'm going to just try and do the annual goals mostly through the AI tool. Here's my entire daily journal notes from the past year. Here's all my lifts. Here's all my training. Here's what I've been doing for the last couple of years of my annual goals. Here's my 1 to 5 eminent human being qualities. I'm at level 2 and level 3 and level 2 here. I want to get to level 3, level 4, level 3 here. Cool. Process all that. Tell me through how I might be able to do that and achieve it through annual goals and whatnot. And what it gave me, look, in part was good information, fine. Did I leverage it? I'm going to leverage 20% of it, but I had to shift it somewhat in my mind. But what I saw is that, at least as an individual looking at it, it was if I could see that everyone else was using it, they would get a general trend to this same answer, perhaps, because it felt generalized, not too specific to me, even though I'd given it so much information. And so there's when you can start getting a bit of a race to the bottom type scenario with the use of AI, because is it going to kind of all trend together? And now it's leveraging all the information on the world. And so when I say I'm doing running and I'm training and I'm doing fitness, I did a half marathon last year. Hey, I kind of want to improve my running and do more running. What's the first thing that it said, right after I gave it all this? And I wasn't specific about I want to do a marathon, but it said, oh, you should do a marathon and a half marathon at this time. And
sure,
part of it goes yes, I get it, but then what's the evolution of that if I continue using this tool or just thinking about it in a very general trend to the other Moloch problem of just society and doing it for likes? Or well, it becomes do an ultra or do it faster or do it again, where the concept of, and I guess is the bit that I had to like play around with for the last month, going like, okay, but yeah, do I want to do a marathon because I want to do a marathon, or do I want to do a marathon because I'm falling into the Moloch problem, or the problem at hand of it's a race to do more, be better, do it faster. And you can get really caught into that trap and lose aside of maybe the benefit that I wanted to do in the first place was just to be fit and healthy and do things, versus do it because you're trying to amass a ranking or a popularity or more people to follow you for a certain reason. So I kind of came eyeball to eyeball with AI usage and seeing how it could lead me down that path, and then kind of comparing to those other ones around like social status or doing because society generally trends to saying, oh yeah, that's a thing to do. And I kind of, so long story short for that one, so I do have for my annual goals, marathon and a half marathon. But
hey, I got you.
But weirdly enough, I went, yes, I do want to do that. But then when I really like thought about it myself, I was like, yeah, but I don't care of doing it in a race. And that's the important thing, in that I actually don't give a flying fuck about going and doing it at the Sydney Marathon or doing it that. Nah, no way. But I'm happy to do it on my own, just on like a random Sunday and plan for it. And it is that achievement of achieving that, not for the fact of doing it at a location. And I think that popped me out a little bit from like that sort of problem. And it's like, oh yeah, I don't have to do it and plan it just like everyone else is doing it for 12 weeks in this particular location. I can't say right at this moment that I've ever had the passion to do a Sydney Marathon or do the London Marathon or something to that effect. But the achievement of doing a particular distance of feet, I go, that would be pretty cool. I could see myself doing that. So I think the AI piece could lead at the local level. You could see that you just chase down things then for the wrong purposes. And then, applicating it, the application of it to like a global countrywide thing. Sure, I'd probably have less say or less input into that, but I could see how that becomes a Moloch problem and there's not much you and me can do about it, but it just screams out that's something that we're just careening headfirst and no one's really stopping. You could listen to plenty of podcasts about this, and it's like, no one's stopping. Everyone's just going for it as hard as they can, and let's just see what happens at the end of it.
Yeah, sure. So I didn't think that much about the applying it at the individual level, because I just thought that it necessitated a group. I thought that was the whole point of the Moloch problem. It's meant to apply to a group setting, i.e. capitalism.
I guess I'm saying
AI safety, politics.
At the individual level, it applies in the sense that if I'm doing that at the usage of, say, I'm taking AI as an example, if I'm doing that, I can see that there would be a gigantic amount of people who would also similarly be doing it or applying it in that way. And then you start trending towards the same commonality or similar commonalities where that problem might apply in slightly different ways.
But did you do it? Do you think did you solve the problem yourself and you're not the part of the larger group?
Well, that's from like what I was reading with it. It's like the whole concept of calling it a Moloch problem or turning it into a name for an idea in that particular way is so you can jump out of a Moloch problem, in that it probably still exists and it's being used and applied in a whole variety of ways by different people, but you can choose not to be participating in that. So I guess in this example, I'd say, I think I've been able to spot it. Have I necessarily been able to step away from it? I don't know if it's in its full entirety. I haven't on, but at least I've spotted it to know like, oh, I'm probably going to see this and still continue to use it in these ways. And I'm going to spot it more than at least beforehand, just being like, cool, that sounds good. Go and just do it, like kind of without even really thinking about it.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know if that's calling it a Moloch problem for the individual for me seems kind of pointless, because it's just, what would be a better way of describing it is just unintended consequences. You're just not realizing that you're doing something and it's going to have a detrimental effect on what it is that you're trying to do as a whole.
Yeah. Well,
just lack of foresight, perhaps, or lack of understanding of how reality works.
Well, but that's what I mean. I guess the concept that I liked, and when I looked at it, I was like, I liked just the one singular name that you can apply a concept, because what you said was a concept, right? So if you're trying to describe to someone a concept, sometimes you can alternate it, you shift it. Oh, what about this? What about that? If you at least for yourself, you say, oh, yeah, Moloch problem. And yeah, like the applicability of it, everyone from a humanity perspective, yep, you can use it in that particular instance as well for like a Moloch problem. But why I didn't find it as interesting, and I wanted to apply it from an individual level, is for some of those ones, what the fuck are we going to do? Like as a mere mortalite, are you going to be doing anything about AI safety at the global level? Maybe some of you do, and maybe there's pushing from let's just say you go on and we're going to vote, could be one way, go on protest, but say AI security or AI, whatever you want to deem it, like I don't think anyone's stopping that. That's just like a Moloch problem that maybe we can identify, and it's like we're all just going headfirst into it.
Yeah, I definitely disagree with all of those things. In terms of, I'll get onto that shortly. It's just like, so for example, let's say I want to clean my teeth. I want my teeth to look better. So I start brushing them and I overbrush them and I start wearing away all the enamel and my teeth end up worse.
Yep.
Even though I might get a slight boost initially because I'm, brushing them so good and they're all nice and clean. And that was just an unintended consequence. I didn't think about it. I didn't know about it, perhaps. You wouldn't call that a Moloch problem, right?
No.
You'd just go, that's just a problem.
Correct.
But then could I then say, oh, this is a Moloch problem because the reason I want my teeth to look good is I'm in the dating scene. I'm in the world with all of everyone else. My teeth looking better will give me a competitive advantage. So therefore, that's the reason why I'm doing this behavior. And then it has this unintended effect. And therefore...
That still wouldn't be a Moloch problem, though.
Okay, why not, though?
Because you'd have to have everyone trending towards doing that because of that reason.
Okay, but so then, for, like the kids one, for example, is that everyone's doing that with their kids?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're a parent, comment in it, because I'm telling you right now, the amount of conversations with kids, at least around the ones that I've had, there is an astounding amount of times that the conversation around like how are they going with their talking, how are they going with this, whatever. There will always be a topic that comes up around, are they doing soccer? Oh, are they doing swimming too? Oh, are they playing football now? Oh, are they doing this one? Oh, my kid's doing this. Oh, but my kid's all happens all like I reckon every conversation I've had with every kid, like parent, that's happened. If it doesn't, like if you don't experience that, tell me.
Is it just one's group?
But there's there's like heaps of blogs, there's Reddit articles about it. There's whole TV shows done for this particular thing. So it happens a lot of the time.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yep. Could be different on that regard. All right. My section takes a little bit of time, so I reckon we might do the Boostagram Lounge.
Okay.
And then get into that. So
can you read the comments that are on there, just if there's anything there?
Yeah, sure. So I see Cole McCormick coming in. Thanks, Cole. He was just letting us know that the audio on YouTube is better than the podcasting apps.
Podcasting apps. What are they doing?
No, it could be my fault. Just depending on the setting that I chose, I might have chose the multi-channel instead of the podcast stereo option. It should be the same, but obviously it isn't. So thanks, Cole, for letting me know. I will try and fix it up. I see Patricia also joining us in on the chat. Thank you. Everyone, we are live here on 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Sundays. This should be our pretty rock-solid time for at least the next 6 months to year type period. And yeah, there's value for value podcast. We just ask that you send in some support. There's a section where we highlight financial support. Did we get any this week?
Sad puppy, none.
Sad puppy,
Yep, none.
Sad puppy.
Yep. I did no streams either from at least on the Boostagram.
From true fans, I'm sure other people were streaming in because we don't see those appearing on our Discord. Here's a question: would you like to see our Discord? We've just made them hidden, these channels, but I could make them available and just non-publishable, as in you can see Boostagrams coming in pre-hand. So let's say someone was joining our Discord and wanted to just see, did they get any Boostagrams this week? I could make that available so that they can see it, but not post in there.
Yeah, I can only answer from mine. So I want to, if someone can comment if they would like that, that'd be good to see.
Yeah,
other details.
Yep. Cool. All right. Thank you, everyone, and for joining in and letting us know things like this. Very, very helpful and important. So I had some more thoughts just on the kind of variation that I had. So, in the blog, and in the poem, Moloch was this entity, I guess you'd call it like an ephemeral fog that blinds us to our problems, or even that's probably not the right metaphor, because we can see the detrimental effects, but we can't do anything about it. So I don't know what you'd call that. Maybe an ephemeral wasp. It's coming towards you. It's ephemeral. You can't like bat it away or anything, but it's coming to get you. Which chains us to suboptimal outcomes that make us behave irrationally. If you take it as a large whole, it's rather poetic, creative, and intriguing. It captured you. It's like the Moloch problem. Oh, what is this?
Yep.
It sounds good. It's like a nice name for it. And I think that's all reflected in the origination of the poem and then subsequent blog, which then put this Moloch problem as a concept out there in the world, or that's kind of the origination point of where it came from. And I think the problem with that is it's not effective philosophy. It's ineffective philosophy. If you read that blog, that is ineffective philosophy at its core. Because it lacks its grounding, and it almost always goes too theoretical. So, for example, in the blog, he talks about a dollar auction. Have you heard of this before?
The dollar auction.
Yeah, and it's essentially an auction for $1. You can buy $1, and there's only 2 rules to it. The bill goes to the winner of the auction, but second place loses their bid as well. So let's say it's just the 2 of us in a room. There's $1 over here. I bid first. I bid 10 cents because if I bid 10 cents and win $1,
fantastic,
good outcome. You then go, all right, well, I'm going to bid 20 cents. And if that happens, I'm losing my 10 cents and you win 20. So obviously we're going to go right up close to $1, right?
Yep.
But then I get to 99 cents, 99.99 or whatever. And there's no higher to go without it being a stupid decision on your part, because your next option is to go like $1 or $1.01.
Yeah, more than it was.
Yeah. So it makes no sense for you. But you're losing 98 cents because that was your second highest bid. So rationally, you should go above it just to make sure you win the option.
And not lose the 98 cents.
Yeah. And so now you go $1.01, but it's like, yeah, I'm losing money, but I'm only going to lose 1 cent now instead of losing 99. Well, then I, of course,
gotta go up and do the same
and
thing.
So theoretically, there's no end to this. We're just going to keep outbidding each other, and it's the rational thing to do, but it's also irrational because now we're losing money instead of the whole point of the auction was to actually make some money. So that was like an example he uses in this blog of the Moloch problem, and I find this much like Zeno's Achilles and the tortoise paradox, which is, a philosophical problem. He said, if there's Achilles is racing the tortoise, or the tortoise and the hare from Aesop's fables, the tortoise is ahead. Oh, sorry, the hare is ahead, but the tortoise, catches up, or vice versa. I can't remember which way. The tortoise is always going to move a slightly little bit time, and the hare will catch up even closer in that time period. But then in that time period, it catches up. The tortoise is going to move a tiny little bit more forward. And even though the hare can catch up even closer, it's going to get to the point where every little segment of time, the hare is unable to catch up because it's always got to move that extra little bit of distance that the tortoise has moved. And you go, oh my God, this is like groundbreaking. This changes the fabric of reality. Tortoises are always going to be faster than hares. But then if you just think logically, and same with this dollar auction, if we were to actually do it right now, are we going to bid each other to infinity? Is the hare never going to be able to catch up to the tortoise? No, that's not how reality works. There's actual things which make rational sense as a problem, and that also rationally,
in theory, the idea like stays, but in reality, it doesn't.
It doesn't work. Correct, and that is what I've kind of found with most of the topics it was talking about: problems of AI safety, politics, climate change, capitalism, critiques, which were largely what he talks about in the book, and which I figured was the Moloch problems, which is individuals doing competitive things and it ending up deleterious for everyone as a whole. There's instances where you can point out at it, but it always seems to go too far in these theoretical assumptions, and then they become retarded. They become so stupid with the implications of what they're saying. And you could then say, okay, maybe something like, all right, but what about, does this mean all theoretical things are stupid? And Einstein, for example, let's take his theory of relativity. He was claiming things which were absurd, impossible to believe, humans go in the speed of light. We can't do that. Or what happens at the speed of light, et cetera, et cetera. And you could then say, all right, well, all of that is wasted. And this is getting a little bit beyond Moloch and is becoming like, what is effective philosophy in a sense? And the difference between, I find, say, someone creating things like the dollar auction and Einstein was, he wasn't making claims about human behavior. For him, it was all, this is what could happen at the speed of light. Like, if this is what is happening here, gravity is going to bend, or space-time is going to bend, and light will bend around a star or a black hole, and it will be changed by that. Whereas we all thought just light was straight photon rays coming and hitting us. And this was where I was just going, okay, like, if you're making claims upon human behavior, they almost always need to be tested, because, and as a real life example, because you can make all of these things that sound nice. It sounds like a real bad problem. Shit, we're going to kill ourselves to death with climate change. We're going to, nuke ourselves into existence. But we haven't. We didn't do it. And you can see it really obviously with the atomic bomb example, which is, well, no, we actually got kind of close to the brink, and then game theory broke down in a sense, and we ended up just dismantling all our bombs. They didn't squeal on each other. They didn't bomb each other, the US and the Soviet Union. So this is where I go to like things like the Moloch problem. And just like, this doesn't make sense in the real world.
Well, see, I think it still does, but the problem lies in that it's the assumption that all Moloch problems or all problems like that have a bad result to it. So it's like, again, the definition of it is when you're chasing after something with the unintended consequence of something bad happening. And so, yes, there's going to have to be a bad thing that comes from it. But that's not to say that good things don't come out of it at the same time. So the AI piece is like, again, anyone can challenge me on this. If you think someone in the individual right now can stop how we're progressing in AI, someone please tell me how you're going to do it, because I don't think you will. There is no one on
develop
right
an AI to destroy all other AIs.
Like, there is no feasible way I could ever see that we're not just going race to as much power usage as possible to create these and continue on our merry way with it. I just can't see how that stops. But it could in itself be, it is like,
which is call it a euphemism or like an example of technology. Humans developing more technology. Better,
greater, bigger. Yeah. And yes, it will have unintended bad consequences. We could come up and dream up with many of them. So in the distinction of a Moloch problem, it is a Moloch problem. It's you're doing something, you're chasing whatever, you kind of know it's going to give you unintended consequences, but fuck it, we got to do it because otherwise someone's going to do it. However, it does have some good consequences that come out of it as well, right? So what's the example Sam Altman said as like an idea? Again, this is like a universal basic income UBI perspective is, imagine you do its AI becomes a super intelligence, it's doing basically all the work, and then you can democratize it into sort of tokens utilization. And so whatever program uses, there's like 12 trillion tokens, and then every person in the world gets, an even share amount of the other tokens, and then you can choose to utilize those tokens that turn into, economical power usage to however you want it. And that's basically everyone's got the same amount of money. And if you want to go and apply them or group them or create things, and that's your own choosing. So you can think of these other unintended things would be maybe good, that you could see it being good, depending obviously on what you see as good. The other problem as well is, and you hit it smack on, is yes, I like the Moloch problem as an idea, but it's a human concept. Again, a fucking animal doesn't give a flying fuck about this concept. It is a human concept, like a lot of things from humanity is. And the problem that I see in effective philosophy is when you are talking about the fabric of reality, physics, and if you get all the way down to, have you heard the concept or the idea of like at the very, very, maybe at the very base layer, it's just information. Like that is everything. So at the base of physics and maths, it's just information. Think about it that way, whatever. The concept of humanity don't really apply there because it is just concepts as a human that we leverage. Again, a donkey does not care about a Moloch problem, doesn't understand a Moloch problem, but things probably occur that all donkeys do that have unintended consequences. Probably, but they don't think about it that way. That's just not a concept that applies. So when it applies to, and that's why I was like, as a human, we're talking about mere mortals, I go, there is a power to seeing where playing games is going to have unintended consequences and choosing when sometimes whatever activity is worth doing a Moloch problem. So kids' activities, and so I go back to this. In kids' activities, it's not worth it for me to participate in that problem for the unintended consequences / potential results that I might get. There's a book I read ages ago about kind of like the falsity of the head start, where you think, well, if my kid's doing this plus that plus this, or just doing tennis from 3 years old, or doing soccer from 4 years old, and they get a really head start, they'll have to be like the best. And the reality is there are some outliers, absolutely, that through repetition and mastery do become really good. But on the average, actually, that's not what the data says. Now, this book was, I don't know, 2020s, early 2020s. And so perhaps maybe there's some new data around it. But for the most part, on average, that's not correct. In fact, the head start is more so a myth, apart from a certain few people who really do well and then they get called out. Tiger Woods, the Williams sisters, all these individuals, people who've just taught the kids chess. So that doesn't really apply when you look at it at the data specifically. And I go, the unintended consequence of forcing someone, let's say a kid, to do something that they don't like. Take, for instance, us for fucking reading when we're in school, right? If there was like this race of like, well, my kid's going to read 10 books and my kid's going to read 12 books and 15 books and whatnot, the unintended consequence might have been like, this kid's going to be like, fuck you, I'm not reading books anymore. I hate this. Like, I don't like this. What you want the outcome to be, perhaps, is that your book, that your kid likes to read or participate or picks up these other skills. You can do that without jumping into this problem. So I liked it for that concept alone. But I did see that the theorizing it and then calling it like, well, it's just bad was dumb, because then there's other, one of the ones I called out earlier around the doing things for the likes and the posts and the comments. And again, that is a Moloch problem in that most people, for the most part, do it. There's a select few humans out there who just by default will not do it. But for the most part, if you are creating content, if you're posting things, if you're sharing things with the world, in part, you probably want people to engage with it in some way, shape, or form. Otherwise, if you're just posting it for your own goodness, I guess, maybe there's some humans out there. But for the most part, you want someone to engage with it. If you want one comment, you may want 2 comments. If you want 4 comments, you want 8 comments. And so if everyone's doing that, yes, we know that there's unintended consequences around that. There's displays of social media being bad for kids because then you're chasing likes and comments as opposed to the reality. But it also comes with some good consequences as well. If you do something successfully and it becomes a profession or a passion and you make money from it, it has the right effects to it. So my underlying thing from all of this is I like the naming for knowing it, but the effective philosophy is not fucking just going like, oh, I've got to jump out of it completely and not do it. It's being aware. Like, I think it's more just being aware of what a problem like that exists, humanity-wide or to an individual, and then realizing what the fuck it is that you actually want the outcome to be. Because sometimes then you will do it, right? From our perspective, if we have 5,000 subscribers or 10,000 subscribers or 1 million subscribers, is it getting us to the outcome that we want, even if it's going to have unintended consequence? What's going to be unintended consequence? We're probably going to get people talking shit about us about all hosts of things, right? And the more some of our clips go, viral and more people think, you get all these comments like, "What's fucking dumb idiot? Like, what is whatever?" That's the unintended consequence. I'm happy to have that if it means more individuals engaging with our stuff that then do get a positive result from it. So that's a Moloch problem that I choose to go and participate in if everyone's doing that, because it got some good consequence and maybe it's helping some people out. So more so I kind of like landed in the effective philosophy is be aware of them. Be aware when you're playing them, and if the potential consequences, hopefully they're not too risky, and judging that and going, okay, well then do I choose to participate in that and do it fully under the encounter of that, I think is fine, without this like, I didn't read into that too deeply, but onto this like chaotic, like, fuck, if you play it, that's it, we're all going to get like blow up and whatnot. Because again, it goes to the same point of like nuclear weapons, where because the US had some, this other country had to have some, and so this other country has to have some, but look where it led us. It got to a point where I was like, okay, actually pause here, everybody, because we've now reached the point where we're just going to have mutually assured destruction if anyone launches something.
Spending all our resources on atomic weapons and not on, our economies and things.
Yeah, so like humanity does not act in the theory of the world. We act in the reality of us as a species. And so that concept I kind of landed with it. Cool to know, to be aware and apply the thought process to it, so that you don't go down the path of doing activities that are being done by everyone else and suffering unintended consequences that you're not willing to live with. Some you will, and then fuck it. Good. Do it.
Yeah. I find that the general grouping of these problems and even just topics of discussion tend to have it's kind of like a meta understanding or assumption that either humans are almost always all good, but as a species, like humans as the individuals are good, but as a species we're bad. And so that seems to be kind of the trend. I especially reading that blog I noticed, and even just some of the associated things that are going around this. So like AI, for example. No, I don't think there's anyone calling out any individual of like, you're bad for using AI. Sure, there is someone somewhere always doing something, but as a large sweep, it's not, this person, because you used ChatGPT, you're a bad person now. But because we all use ChatGPT, we're bad as a whole.
Well, and I challenge that, because we heard it from our good friend Joseph in the comedian arts world.
Yeah,
how they were talking about how you're using AI to do your thing in your images. Bad human, bad person. He told us that. Now I don't know if this is like everyone saying that in the comedic artist world, but yeah. I could see that. Okay. I could see that where people are like, no, fuck you for using this. But if you're making people laugh, then again, it's an unintended consequence, but you're willing to participate because your end outcome was to make people laugh and to have a good time. So it's like, yes, but I'm going to participate in it because even this unintended consequence is not too bad for the fact that what I'm getting is what I wanted to in the first place.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that's a good example. And it might even highlight the opposite of what I was going to say, which is and perhaps I'm more aligned with them than I thought, because I for example, believe, no, there's actually more like bad individual humans, and there's tons of behaviors which are terrible, but humanity as a good, like, as a whole, the terms good and evil or bad are tricky when you're applying it to these concepts like this, but I tend to incline more to perhaps the optimistic side of things. So, for example, you'll hear, okay, but no, we can prove humanity's bad as a whole, or people as bad a whole with like Stanford prison experiments, the Stanley Milgram shock experiments, where this was showing, if you have a human overlooking another human, you can get them to shock them to death, or like the Stanford prison was like they treated their captors. The captors treated the prisoners terribly. Even after only 7 days, they had to shut down the experiment because it was so bad. And it's just like, okay, but if you actually look into them, those experiments weren't unbiased in their setup, and that there was all sorts of things which made them incentives for people to do the bad thing in a non-normal way, I guess, like in a non-normal, in a non-realistic sense.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's hard because there's undoubtedly times where there's kind of Moloch problem type things. Look at the Soviet Union, the gulags. There's tons of things where it's like, yeah, you had to compete in being more psychopathic to prove your loyalty to the Soviet Union. And to do this, you create this whole fucked up system, put tons of people in gulags, kill millions of people, etc., etc., etc. So there is things like that where I go, all right, yeah, you know what? That perhaps is a good example of a Moloch problem that went terribly. Was it sustainable over time and ended up killing all of humanity? No, but they killed a lot of people. Terrible for sure. So there's ones like that where I go, okay, that's a good example of like, yeah, humanity as a whole is bad. But as a general rule, I think this is where like a Steven Pinker type book, Enlightenment Now, just shows over time, like there's less wars, there's less rapes, there's less childbirth, deaths of childbirth of either the child or the mother. Mortality rates continue to decline, so people getting older in general. Things like happiness and stuff like that, it's hard to measure. You could argue differently for that. So I don't know. How do you solve a Moloch problem?
That's why I was like, you don't solve it.
Yeah, I actually even question the validity of it being a legit actual problem.
So I would say it is a legit actual problem. It's legit in the sense that it's an activity that you do with unintended consequences that everyone's doing, and then you'll land at unintended consequences. But where I balk at the idea is that it's like this catastrophic level of unintended consequences, so that you can play them when you choose to so play them, and it's a much more of a be aware of a Moloch problem as like it's Moloch, it's Kun, just as like a name, as opposed to putting this like full sentence of what it is. And then just being aware whether you're playing it or not for the right reasons. Because then if you are for the activities and you unintended consequences, like whatever, fuck it, do it. If it's a real terrible unintended consequence, then okay, maybe then you actually realize, okay, potentially I won't do this. Now, it's like real world practice. I don't know when this really would occur, but it was like, you can win $1 million, but it's like an unintended consequence of whatever you're doing, you might die. Like I would go, okay, well, I'm not doing that. Like that's definitely a game I do not want to play. Right. But if the risk was lesser so, and an unintended consequence might be like, oh, you don't get to talk to your 17th best friend, I might be like, yeah, okay, cool, let's do it. Fuck it. Like,
fuck
whoever my 17th best friend is, fuck you, going. So, you know what I mean? Like it very much differs on what that is. Whoever, if you're a philosopher out there, you're probably hating us. But you know what I've actually landed on now that I'm talking about this, and maybe I thought about this prior, but one of the reasons I guess I'm doing much more effective philosophy conversations and stuff. I like philosophy, but the more and more I think about it, I'm like, a lot of philosophy sucks. Like a lot of philosophy shit, in that it might be true in the most real sense, in this like theoretical sense. I'm not saying that's wrong in that sense, but when it comes into not just applicability, but just humanity at large, like you an individual walking around, fuck it shit. Like what kind of fucking application is this? Like in what world would this have to exist? It would have to exist in a very, very specific, because even in any of these game theories that we're just talking about, you could just change like such little tiny things of reality of like, yeah, but what if this happened or that happened and you're angry or you're hungry or whatever? Like it just changes fucking dramatically. It is a hyper object, people. It's too complex. And so I kind of go, just a load of shit. The more you have to, the more I want to, I reckon for the next few years at least, on the podcast and more, it's effective philosophy stuff. So when I see shit like that, like calling it out and be like, nah, this is bullshit, unless it applies. And for me, it applied in like, oh, I can see where using AI, at least me personally, I could see myself going off the beaten path into generality. I don't really want that, but I'm aware of it, and I'll leverage it in a specific way. So do it. That's my ramble.
You almost we're very much on the same page. I've read so many philosophy books now, and do you know what my favorite one of all time that I've read was? Batman and Philosophy. Batman and Philosophy was great because it highlighted the I guess like larger concepts that you'll sometimes face, or that are kind of like intriguing or interesting. What I found for like the trolley problem, for example, things like this, where you can provide examples which are kind of
back and forth,
of the intuition of like, oh, okay, yeah, I would push the switch. Oh, wait, no, I wouldn't push a fat man off a bridge to save the 5 people. So therefore, like, what's the difference between the two? And doing those kind of like highlighting of experiments and then showcasing how Batman did it, I found super useful. All of the other books talking about, just these general things related to time, related to AI safety and stuff like this. I will dismiss basically offhand a discussion of capitalism, of the AI safety. But if you want to talk about a niche idea of, oh yeah, there's a gun attachment that utilizes AI somehow, or attaching it to drones so it can distinguish between, the dark-skinned people and the light-skinned people fighting in Afghanistan, I would be happy about that. But even those ones,
if you were specific about the chips being made in Taiwan and the race to the bottom resulting in a war in Taiwan for the manufacturing of these chips, and so like it kind of makes sense.
Well, I'll be able to actually answer that shortly because I'm reading a book called Chip Wars at the moment, which is going over the whole aspect of.
What year was that?
It's relatively recent. I think it was like the last that'd be nice. 4 or 5 years.
Yep. Yeah. So I know right now there are some companies building it outside of Taiwan now, attempting to do certain things like that to avoid that. But a shit ton are being manufactured there. A lot of limits are trying to be imposed to China, but they just get around it, right? Again, this is more politics piece. But if you want to talk about that from a race to the bottom and the problems, okay, there's some reality there. But again, and I'm not saying all philosophies are shit. I'm just saying the ones that are non-grounded in reality are like niche. Man, they're hard. Like niche. Stoicism. So Stoicism, just like there's lots, but Stoicism, I would say, largely grounded in reality because it's a lot of individuals who lived through that life. Some of it might be a little bit airy-fairy, but a lot of it is grounded, especially the stuff that remains today.
Well, they give examples with that.
Buddhism, on the other hand, has a lot more non-grounded, weirdly enough, but does actually apply really well into everyday life, where it's like there's less examples I guess I've seen, at least I've seen, that are like, oh, this human did this very thing. It's very like story and everything else. But fuck, it's really applicable. Like to a point, I remember maybe 2 months ago, like looking into a couple of Buddhist things, I was like, man, I could see myself being a Buddhist. Like that's actually like weirdly, really, really related to the things that are like
the best Buddhist books I wrote actually have specific examples of here was a problem I was dealing with. This is a Buddhist concept or Taoist concept, Eastern philosophy in general, that helped me solve this problem in my own mind or approach it differently compared to how I was approaching it. If you read something like Nietzsche, Heidegger, fucking Kant.
Man, Karen gets a lot of hate.
Kierkegaard.
Karen gets a lot of hate.
I'm going to chuck this out. So we're talking about a popular clips. One of our most popular on the Book Reviews channel at the moment is like there's only 3 good niche books, and it's not even me. It's Dave Jones.
That one gets such comments
talking about actually maybe that's not on the Book Reviews channel because it was a Mere Mortals conversation. So it's probably on our main channel. And yeah, the amount of just criticism thrown Dave's way, off chops. Dave, you're in trouble, man. The internet doesn't like you. And I'm going to say it. I'm going to back him up. Niche is shit. I'm
going to clip that for sure.
Beyond God and Order is shit. Reading fucking Thus Spoke Zarathustra, shit. Will I try any of his others? Probably, because I'm an idiot. And I keep getting drawn back to these things. But they're shit. Very good. Enjoy that internet.
That's enough of a summary, I think. Mere lads, again, we're live on Sundays 9 a.m. If you want to join us live, of course, you can feel free to do so. Again, if you want to support us, feel free to do it in the various ways. You can comment, you can like, you can join in live, you can share this, you can send
join our Discord, send us a Boostagram, meremortalspodcasts.com/support.
Correct.
It's where you can learn more about how to do things like that. And we very much appreciate it. Shout you out. We do have a leaderboard that we keep in contact with as well. And we still got the offer of if you send in 100,000 sats, we will send you a shirt.
That's right. $200 worth. Australian dollar show by this point.
It's
in
just
time,
getting more expensive, people.
That's what
There you go.
happens. That's what happens. All right, more or less, we'll leave it there. Be well wherever you are in the world. Thank you very much. One out.
Karen out. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.